If you had the ability to reanimate human corpses and turn them into walking bombs, what would you do? This undead army is being controlled by a mastermind. They don't seem to feel pain and are out to kill. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the weaponized zombies in the Empire of Corpses. This young doctor will stop at nothing to bring his dead friend back to life. But as the dead overrun the world around him, he will soon realize that the corpse right beside him is the key to saving them all. The year is 1878. Many decades ago, Dr. Victor Frankenstein did the impossible and brought a human corpse back to life. His creation, called the One, was said to have emotions and thoughts of a human being. This led many to speculate that the One was brought back to life with a soul. But this creature and the discovery of Victor's work wreaked utter havoc, and Dr. Frankenstein did not survive the chaos. And in the confusion, the One escaped with the life's work of his creator, otherwise known as Victor's notes. The creature has never been seen again. For decades after that, scientists all over the world developed their own technology to bring the dead back to life. This technology, called necroware, can be uploaded into freshly dead bodies like a computer program, bringing them back to life. A central machine controls the reanimated corpses on a global scale, operating out of the Tower of London, and this machine runs on necroware and can be frequently updated and tweaked as the technology advances. But the technology isn't as advanced as Dr. Frankenstein's. The bodies they resurrect can only return to the world as wannabe influencers, meaning these walking corpses have no soul and are completely void of emotion and are incapable of complex thought. Since they remain physically fit but cannot speak and do not seem to carry any memories of their loved ones, the corpses are put to work as blue-collar workers, with more and more corpses being brought back over many years. They've naturally become a huge part of the world's labor force. These bodies can perform simple tasks and are not violent towards humans who control them. They are very integrated into society and are allowed to roam freely through the streets to perform their tasks. Watson here is a medical student who has recently lost his best friend, a young man named Friday. Despite not having a license to operate necroware or bring back the dead, he creates a makeshift lab at his home and replicates the software to reanimate the dead. Watson brings Friday's body into his lab and sits it in the chair. The doctor cuts open the corpse's back and inserts a metal probe, connecting it to the machine that he has created. He flips a switch and activates a complex series of machinery, which whirs and grinds. And it works! Friday's corpse opens his eyes and looks at his former friend. The doctor asks if Friday recognizes him, but Friday remains silent. The body stands up and lumbers towards Watson, looking at him with a hollow gaze. Watson tells his friend that he will continue to work to bring his soul back too. He gives Friday a pen so he can record every word and action that passes through his mind. Okay, for somebody who cares deeply about Friday, Watson here has condemned his friend to one of the worst fates imaginable. Look at the poor guy. This is not the face of a man who is overjoyed at being given a second chance of life. Sure, he is walking around just fine, but he shows almost no signs of humanity and seems incapable of experiencing happiness or whatever. Watson is aware that even existing necroware technology is inferior to what is scientifically possible, and his homemade version is probably even worse than that. Dr. Victor Frankenstein has already successfully brought back a corpse capable of bringing complex thought and emotion. However, until that technology is recreated, anything Watson can do will just be a really bad imitation at best. His best bet would be to preserve Friday's body through cryogenics and keep it physically intact as possible, while him and the rest of the world search for ways to enhance necroware technology. With the corpse labor controlling most of the world's economy, politicians and scientists with unlimited power and deep pockets are sure to be pushing to improve the technology every day, because I'm sure they don't want to die permanently anytime soon. The world's best minds are working with the world's most advanced resources on this, so it's downright arrogant and stupid for Watson to even assume that his knowledge as a medical student can trump the combined research of this major global industry. The best that he can do here is to lay low, leave Friday alone until someone else develops the technology to bring him back fully. But this doesn't mean the doctor just sits around and does nothing. Oh no. Watson can still tinker about with his home laboratory, but as a man of science. How about he actually applies more tried and tested elements of the scientific method to the process? If he draws inspiration from clinical trials designed to test new medicine or treatment processes on humans, he will have a better shot at developing more complete technology to bring Friday back. Watson should start animal testing, beginning his trials with smaller animals like rats, then progressively test animals more similar to humans like primates. And the aim here should be to reanimate these animal corpses with the intelligence level normally expected from their species. For example, he can use simple mazes to test if his reanimated rats can retain memories or develop problem-solving skills. And once he is happy enough with the results, then he can move on to human trials. Having already stolen Friday's body, the man clearly has no problems grave robbing. So why not do it again? He can go shopping at his local cemetery and bring back as many test subjects as he can, and since they're strangers to him, he can kinda afford to mess up on their reanimation. Watson should run these human trials till his reanimated corpses can pass a series of tests showing that they are intelligent, capable of speech, and can experience complex emotion. Then and only then should he take Friday out of storage and apply the technology that he has developed to his friend's corpse. Sometime later, Friday is hooked with the lab's machine while Watson sleeps nearby. The corpse is seemingly typing and writing while remaining completely emotionless. This man, M, shows up with a few policemen and busts Watson. He tells the doctor that what he is doing is illegal, as he has stolen Friday's body and reanimated using technology that he has no right to use. He tells Watson that his crimes could land him in jail for a very long time, but makes him an offer. M wants the young man to come work for him as an agent on behalf of the British Empire. With no other choice, Watson accepts. Out for their mission, Watson and Friday travel to the crowded docks. There, the doctor spots former US President Ulysses S. Grant, accompanied by his aide, a beautiful young woman. Before the young man can even wipe the drool off his chin, a series of explosions ring through the docks. Suddenly, one of the undead dock workers grabs him, snarling ferociously. Another man saves Watson, punching the corpse into the water, where it explodes on impact. The large man picks Friday up like a doll and urges Watson to come with him. Getting into a nearby stagecoach, the three try to get away. Almost immediately, another corpse attacks the vehicle. Watson punches it and watches it as it lands on the road and explodes. The man explains that these are corpse bombs, military weapons capable of charging up and detonating in their target's face. They were designed by the Russians to use against their enemies. More corpses swarm the stagecoach. These living, breathing Russian weapons are out for blood and grab at the doctor as if he has outbid them to host the Olympics. Watson fends the corpses off, but soon realizes that another vehicle is in pursuit, with two soldiers shooting at them from behind. At the last moment, the large man fires back and takes them both out. With the pursuers off their trail, the man introduces himself as Captain Frederick Burnaby. He is to act as Watson's guide, as well as added muscle for this mission. They are headed to Afghanistan to find a Russian corpse engineer who has defected from Russia to form his own empire of the undead in the mountains. This engineer is believed to have stolen and is now in possession of the Holy Grail Watson is to retrieve, Victor Frankenstein's original notes. As they journey towards their destination, they meet up with another Russian who is on their side and can help them find the engineer. Watson is not trusting of this Russian since his people just tried to kill him, but the Russian assures him that they all want the same thing and that he will give up the notes to Watson should they succeed in their mission. He says that even though he already knows where the engineer is hiding out, the doctor is crucial to their mission because he is the only one among them who will know what to do with corpse technology. Okay, someone get the tartar sauce because something smells very fishy here. One of the most important traits for an international spy is to have loyalty to their country. Watson here is a known criminal who hasn't even graduated college and has already shown that he will prioritize his personal goals while hiding things from the government. His only goal is to bring Friday back to life truly, and he hasn't even told M that he cares about helping his country. The mission here is also largely tactical, with agents needing to cross international borders, enter potentially hostile territory, and retrieve Victor's notes. Watson has no field experience or combat skills. He is almost useless on this mission. There's no reason why the doctor can't be stationed in a nearby safe house while the trained field agents retrieve the notes themselves and bring them to him for analysis. The British Empire would be total idiots to send this totally untrained civilian who they cannot trust on one of the most important missions of all time, because clearly no one can be that stupid. Which means there's only one other explanation. M here is up to no good and has an ulterior motive in getting Watson involved in trying to decipher his hidden intentions. Watson should think about what unique traits he brings to the table. For one, he's young and unfamiliar with matters of state and espionage, which makes him naive and easy for someone like M to manipulate. Unlike a regular agent who will hand Dr. Frankenstein's notes over to the government, Watson is more likely to keep them for himself due to his desperation to use them to save Friday. And from these observations, Watson should have figured out that M chose him because he needs someone who will protect the notes with his life, and is someone who is likely going to act independently without reporting to the government that M claims to be serving. M likely wants the notes for himself for some sort of clearly shady plan. And once he figures this out, Watson should continue to play dumb while deciding how he can turn the situation in his favor. No matter what, he's clearly gotta keep the notes out of the hands of someone who's likely up to no good like M. And to do this, he could prepare some forged notes while continuing on his mission to retrieve them. Once he has his hands on Victor's real notes, he can swap them out for the fakes that he has prepared, since he is the only one on the retrieval team who can fully understand understand corpse reanimation technology, no one will notice the difference until it's too late. Once back in England, he can then hand the real notes over to someone he trusts within the government and alert them to keep an eye on M, earning a royal pardon for himself, possibly. Alternatively, if Watson still values resurrecting Friday over a pardon, he could keep the real notes to himself and use them to further enhance his own corpse engineering technology, perfecting it to the point where Friday can become fully human again. Traveling through the mountains, the group stumbles across an all-out war between two fighting factions of corpse soldiers. The British military commanding their corpse soldiers is fighting an army of local insurgent corpses. Watson and his friends trek through the mountains, trying to avoid the action, but it doesn't work. They are ambushed by more exploding corpses. A soldier holding metal claws fights Burnaby with skilled and precise combat moves. The large man barely survives its attack before spearing it through the chest. Their enemies have improved their corpse soldiers. These undead soldiers are capable of learning coordinated moves and anticipating their attacks, and more of these enhanced corpses charge at them as the men shoot them off. But this is a little too late, and they are slowly but surely getting surrounded by dozens of the undead. Just as all hope seems lost, a stagecoach roars through the mountain pass. The woman from the docks, President Grant's aide, climbs out of the carriage onto the roof as it speeds past the corpses. She whips out her deadly weapons, and I am referring to this flamethrower here, and unleashes onto the soldiers. The corpses are incinerated on the spot by her blasts, and quickly as she appeared, the woman rides off after saving Watson and his friends. The young doctor stares on in awe as he picks up a white flower that she has drugged. She loves him, clearly. Later that night, Watson plugs one of the advanced corpses into his machine in an attempt to understand it. The man is desperate for the corpse to speak. It lets out a few grunts, as if it is trying to form words, but ultimately lunges at him before falling to the ground motionless, to Watson's disappointment. The doctor goes to the river to wash up and is visited by the young woman from earlier. She introduces herself as Hadley Lilith, former President Grant's secretary. Sensing an instant connection, Watson explains that his ultimate goal is to advance corpse technology to the point where he can return the souls to the dead. This would give him the ability to bring back Friday to life. Watson is convinced that the soul lies in the ability to communicate and is desperate to give Friday the ability to speak. Hadley says that she cannot fully understand the emotion he feels, but seems rather endeared to the young man's mission. The next day, the group finally finds the Russian corpse engineer within the snowy mountains of Afghanistan. The man seems troubled but willing to help them. Over dinner, he confirms that he has Victor's notes and has run countless experiments with them, and tells Watson that he will only hand over the notes if he promises to destroy them, so they cannot fall into the wrong hands. The doctor is unconvinced. He remains adamant on bringing Friday back to him by restoring his soul and making him fully human again. Alright, this is terrifying. The way the advanced corpses have immediately been weaponized to fight in wars and kill humans is exactly what would happen if Dr. Frankenstein's notes are not destroyed. Any advancement in corpse engineering only means warmongers will have access to smarter, more deadly weapons to kill others with. It doesn't help at all that these advanced corpses look exactly the same as the regular undead who are allowed to speak and walk freely along public streets. This means corpse weapons can easily blend in and detonate when they are beside innocent civilians, even young children. And since the explosive properties are linked to glycosol from natural body fat, this threat cannot be eliminated unless the workforce stops using undead labor entirely. And did you know body fat is abundant in the natural human body and can occur at normal levels between 8 and 35%? In fact, achieving 0% body fat is impossible because one of the lowest recorded body fat percentages is under 1% held by a professional bodybuilder from Austria. But not the one you're thinking of. His name was Andreas Munzer, and his lifestyle and his unusually low body fat caused a number of health issues which tragically resulted in his death in his early 30s. Even this exceptional man, who weighed in at almost 240 pounds and under 1% body fat, likely had over 2 pounds of fat on him. And this is essential to regular body function, meaning that there's absolutely no way to prevent corpses from being converted into walking bombs if we want them to be functioning workers. Apart from taking out this entire massive workforce entirely, the only way to defend against weaponized corpses would be to develop an exclusive system to identify legitimate undead workers. And since microchip technology is still about 80 years away from existing, they need to create some sort of uniform that carries a unique feature, and will be designed in such a way that civilians can be warned to stay away from corpses that they spot without the uniform that has the latest code, since these are the bodies which have no reason to wander the streets. And these uniforms with these special codes would be made within the same day, which would make it really hard for a foreign power looking to attack with exploding corpses being able to forge a uniform that they will have to produce an identical uniform that matches the unique design that has the latest codes, and have it all be done within half a day. The likelihood of a foreign power being able to achieve that is microscopically small. The next day, Watson awakens to find strange noises coming from elsewhere in the building. Him and Friday walk down the hall and open the door where the noise is coming from. from. The doctor is stunned by an utterly horrific sight. The corpse engineer has the Russian guide strapped to a chair with probes from a reanimation machine stabbed deep into the back of his head. The man screams for help, and Watson rushes to pull out the probes, but it is too late. The engineer flips a switch, killing the poor man, converting him into an advanced corpse. Watson is furious and disgusted by the engineer, but the man remains calm. He tells Watson that this is the prize he has been so desperately seeking. The horrific process he has just witnessed is the process to create a corpse with a soul, as detailed in Dr. Frankenstein's notes. Watson is not convinced. He insists that the technology itself isn't destructive. He believes it can be improved enough to bring Friday back to him. The engineer then kneels before his monstrous creation, clutching his prayer beads and looking to be at peace, and he willingly lets the reanimated corpse stab him with the machine's probe, converting him into an advanced corpse. Before he dies, the man falls onto Watson, and he tells the doctor Victor's notes are in Japan, and begs him once again to look at the horrors around him and realize that he has to destroy the notes when he finds them. Watson and Burnaby continue on with their mission to Japan with Friday in tow. There, they meet up with their contact, a soldier in the Imperial Japanese Army, to find out that the notes are being held in the Osato Chemical Company. When they arrive at the company, they find dozens and dozens of hibernating advanced corpses. They also find many scientists dead and bloody carnage in the hallway. A rival agent has tried to infiltrate the building before them and managed to cause quite a bit of mayhem before being killed himself. They realize that the guards must know people are planning to steal the notes, but Watson pushes them on to carry on. As they enter the main room, the men activate a trap which reanimates the guards. Two massive advanced corpses dressed from head to toe in heavy armor spring to life. These things are as massive as they are vicious. They attack the men with a pair of swords each. Burnaby and the soldiers draw their weapons. They hold the guards off but are clearly outmatched. One of the guards stabs the soldier through the stomach, but the man keeps fighting. Burnaby yells for Watson to go on ahead to find the notes and destroy them. Breaking into the final room, the doctor finds the notes hooked up to a complex series of machinery. At that moment, the young man is overcome with memories of Friday when he was alive and his mission to bring his best friend back to life. Instead of destroying the notes, he runs them through the machine to analyze them, and this action has an immediate effect on all the hibernating corpses in the building. They start to become aggressive and storm the room, attacking Burnaby, still fending off the guards at the room's entrance, and Burnaby cannot believe what he is seeing and yells for Watson to destroy the notes. Alright, look, Friday must be infectious because Watson is acting downright brain dead here. His friends have warned him again and again that the notes and any improvements which can make corpse soldiers better soldiers would be absolutely catastrophic to the world if they fall into the wrong hands. So the doctor's plan is going to doom everybody on Earth to save one friend. Kudos, Watson, for achieving that so well. I get it, all this moron was trying to do was to bring Friday back to life and screw over the entire human race and have that be a completely accidental side effect. Even if Friday was Watson's only priority, the doctor still should have realized that keeping himself alive is the best way to save his friend, and right now Watson is his strongest and only advocate. Technology can be reverse engineered. New research can make fresh things each day, but there will not be a single person who will treat Friday as anything more than a guinea pig once Watson is gone. Even a good man like Burnaby has no loyalty to the undead man because there is no big difference between Friday and the thousands of other undead laborers on the streets. Watson has already been slashed by the guards and he has zero combat ability. He's a freaking anime version of Frodo from Lord of the Rings. He's an absolute wuss. Forcing himself to stay in a dead-end room with these two vicious beasts outside, trying their very best to break in and kill him, does nothing for this cause. And if he dies, there will be no one left to defend Friday, and the walking corpse will still be just thrown away and forgotten. The man should have tried a little bit harder to stay alive. If I were in Watson's shoes, I would have secretly pocketed the notes and then smashed all the machinery around to make everyone believe that I destroyed the pages as well. Burnaby and the soldiers are too busy fighting for their lives outside to notice. Once we return to England, after a very successful mission, then I will have time to make a very risky play. I will study the notes thoroughly and commit the information entirely to memory before saving one page and burning the rest. Then I would take the single page to M, proving to him that I have studied the real notes. Knowing that M likely has some sort of dark personal scheme involving the notes and would stop at nothing to get his hands on them, I would make him the following offer. Dr. Frankenstein's methods now only exist in my brain, giving me hundreds and thousands of resources in order to be able to expand my laboratory and experiment. And tell him, keep me under close watch if you must. We both want to resurrect sentient corpses anyways. Give me the resources to succeed with Friday, and you will find out what the notes say by studying my methods. All the while as I save my best friend. Otherwise, they're gone forever. I'm willing to die if not given the chance to bring my friend back. It's a huge risk, sure, but by gambling like this, you might just be able to get out of this situation a alive. Watson doesn't notice his friends screaming for help or the grave danger he has put them all in. His entire focus is on Friday as the corpse gasps and grunts. Watson begs his friend to speak his first words. Instead, Friday becomes completely feral, clawing Watson's face and acting as aggressively as every other corpse in the building has turned. Burnaby pushes past the young doctor and gets ready to destroy the notes and machinery, but Watson screams for him to stop because he believes that will destroy Friday's soul too. And before Burnaby can do anything else, a huge explosion knocks everyone out. A sinister old man enters the room and takes the notes for himself. Before he passes out, Watson recognizes the man to be the one, Dr. Frankenstein's original creation, who is still alive after many decades. The old man starts to leave, with all the undead guards obediently following him out of the room. Sometime later, Watson awakens to Hadley at his bedside. They are on board an American naval vessel, where the woman has been nursing him back to health. The woman explains that she has managed to rescue Friday and Burnaby from the wreckage, but Friday has remained completely feral. It's a global phenomenon, affecting all of the undead. And now that he has the notes, the One has near limitless power over the world's corpses, which he controls from the central program in the Tower of London. The man is bitter at the human race and seems to want revenge on everyone for being created at all. While the US forces keeps him busy, Watson helps to analyze samples left by the One at the scene to help track him down. The doctor once again focuses most of his time trying to cure Friday. And sure enough, the One puts his plan into full action a short while later by transmitting sound waves from the Tower of London, and he causes all the corpses to start attacking humans. The undead workers on board the ship attack too, but Hadley has some rather superhuman abilities, stomping her foot and producing a green shockwave which knocks them out. Together they take Friday and break out of the ship. Upon reaching land, they ride through the streets where Watson sees utter chaos all around him. Angry corpses have caused widespread destruction and murdered many innocent people. As they approach the entrances to the sewers, Hadley tells Watson to travel underground and take Friday through the sewers to her safe house to give them time to regroup and go after the One. Traveling through the sewers, Friday attacks Watson again, and the corpse draws the doctor's gun, shooting him in the shoulder and the leg. Sensing that the fate of the world is at stake and Friday has only slowed him down again and again, Watson finally kills him and dedicates himself to saving the world, except of course he didn't, the frickin' moron. The super duper moron instead once again does nothing but beg and beg Friday to say a first word as the corpse gets ready to kill him. Oh my gosh, he is so freaking stupid. This clown might as well just sacrifice himself because he's trying to save one person. It's really the best thing that he can do right now. Watson here has his priorities completely wrong. He needs to stop the One. Everybody already knows that the One is controlling the undead using sound waves broadcasting from the Tower of London's central machinery anyway. There is no further need for the young doctor's expertise, even if he has especially already proven twice that his only focus is on his friend. The brute force of the military is the only real medicine this situation needs. With all the corpses allowed to roam about unguarded all these years, this all-out zombie apocalypse was bound to happen sooner or later. The good news is, since reanimation requires the dead bodies to undergo a lengthy and manual process, the military just has to launch a full-scale attack to kill or disable all current undead. There is no infection to spread to the current human population, even if more people are killed by the corpses. For example, this lady who Friday took a large chomp at may die, sure, but she will now return as a zombie who can infect others. The zombies being controlled are controlled by sound waves. The government should look into producing disruptive waves, which will break the undead out of their violent spell or subdue them. Hadley here would be more than happy for them to record and analyze a sample of the sound waves produced by her stamping her foot. This sample can then be pre-recorded and weaponized into a disabling wave that can be played to take out the attacking undead. They already know this is an effective measure to knock the corpses out and just need to broadcast it on a larger scale. Various forms of loudspeakers have already been invented since the 1860s, including a version specifically for sound amplification using compressed air. And the mind behind this is none other than Thomas Edison, who happens to have an existing parental relationship with Hadley's. If they borrowed and reproduced the inventor's prototype, they could rig a loudspeaker to dozens of stagecoaches and broadcast Hadley's disruptive wave while riding through the city. This would ideally cause all the corpses to be knocked out on the spot. Foot soldiers then can either kill them off by throwing the unconscious corpses into the nearest body of water, or if they aren't close to water, they could fortify and convert a nearby building into a makeshift jail to lock corpses in before they wake up. And once all the undead are killed or taken out, the only thing they have to face is the difficult decision whether or not to continue using corpse engineering and undead labor. And there's a big strong case now as to why they shouldn't do it. But so long as corpses remain a part of everyday society, there's always a risk for a scumbag like the One to use them against humanity again. In a very rare moment of logic, Watson comes to his senses and injects Friday with a sedative before you can kill him. As Friday goes silent, Watson thinks back to his close friendship with the man. Back when Friday was alive, Watson had made him a promise to carry on their shared life's work to uncover the mysteries of the human soul and bring Friday's soul back after his death. He takes Friday's unconscious body with him and reunites with Hadley and Burnaby. The man is furious at Watson, rightly so, and he deservedly punches the doctor in the face and tells him that there are women and children dead in the streets because of the choice he made. Watson is remorseful and says he knows he deserves it, but he still feels like he can help put a stop to the global chaos. And just then, the group receives a message M has finally revealed his evil intentions. He has captured the One and plans to bring him and Thanos to the Tower of London. Unlike the One's plans to turn all of the undead against humans, M wants world peace in the most messed up way possible. He intends to use the One and all the technology that he has amassed to convert all the humans into walking corpses. This way, he will be able to control everyone on Earth, including the rich and powerful, as if they were undead slaves, and rationalizes that this is a good thing because it will stop all the fighting and competition between warring nations. Every human can go on to exist in harmony under one leader, M. Watson, Burnaby, and Hadley leave to stop M, taking Friday with them. As they travel to the Tower of London in a submarine, Hadley opens up to the young doctor. She explains to Watson that she is not human. She is actually an android with the power to control corpses via waves, a much more scaled down version of the power the One used to turn corpses against humanity. Like the walking corpses, she does not have a soul and doesn't feel emotion. She feels like a failure because, despite being created to be an ally of the humans, she cannot truly be like them or be a real woman. Nonetheless, for a lifetime of observing humans and seeing Watson's devotion to his friend, Hadley is somehow deeply moved. She yearns one day to have a soul of her own and know what it is to experience human emotions. As the submarine draws near, they accelerate ahead and ram through the tower's outer walls. Charging up the main door, Burnaby mows down dozens of undead guards with a flamethrower, and he stays behind to hold off more guards and to destroy the tower's machinery as the doctor and android woman run up the tower to find M and the One. Okay, I'm just gonna point out the obvious here that this is a really bad plan. Their entire strategy just seems to be to He-Man their way all the way up to the top of the tower and kill everybody. That is not a good plan. Because think about it, for both the One and M, destroying the world in different ways has been their lifelong goals. It's very unlikely that they would not have deadly guards around every corner to stop anyone from getting in their way. These three idiots do not stand a chance. Watson here looks like he can barely fire a thieving babysitter, much less a heavy-duty gun. And as good as Barnaby looks in a sumo loincloth, and as good as Hadley looks in just about, well, anything. There's no reason for the two non-combatants with no technical knowledge or combat training and a mere captain in the military to be taking on the task of saving the entire world. Surely there are millions of others who are just not big fans of being forcibly converted into zombie slaves. There needs to be a force of a few hundred specialists somewhere, launching a coordinated strike on the villains. These friends plan on destroying the tower machinery anyway, and any part of the tower's mechanics which survive their sabotage attempt is likely to be destroyed in the three-way fight between the heroes, the One and M. And since all the expensive corpse engineering machinery in the tower is a lost cause either way, the army should just go ahead and blow the entire thing up. Call it a day. Get it done really quick. Sure, the Tower of London is super fragile and it's a really nice national monument, but hey, the world is burning. Why don't you just blow the thing up and call it a day? Because think about it, this can be destroyed by very explosive blasts of dynamite even. Both Hadley and Burnaby have government ties. If they can pull a few strings to gain access to the blueprints of the Tower of London, the team can easily identify where the most vulnerable parts or load-bearing pillars of the ground floor are. Place a few dynamite pieces in a few key points along the tower's foundations, and then blow it up. It will collapse and most likely kill the One and M, and most definitely destroy the central computer, breaking the hold over the world's corpses immediately. And this is actually the best thing to do, because then it will minimize casualties, since the only people in the tower are those who deserve to be wiped off the face of the earth. Whereas though, if these three stupid heroes fail in their mission, or they take too long and the machinery is allowed to continue operation, thousands, millions of defenseless people will die by their choice. Elsewhere in the tower, Burnaby has made progress on his mission to find and destroy the central computer controlling the corpses, but just before he can reach it, he is confronted by a familiar 9-foot-tall gray-skinned monster with probes and bolts screwed into his neck and forehead. The creature is very strong and comes close to killing Burnaby more than just a few times, but Burnaby manages to make his way to the central machinery just as the monster catches up with him and starts to choke him with chains. In the tower's main room, Watson and Hadley burst in and confront M face to face. Watson tries to reason with him, telling M that human free will has produced many marvels across time, but M is unmoved. The man is convinced that mankind is cruel and destructive by nature, and he vows to finally bring peace to the world by eliminating free will, enslaving the entire human race. M commands an army of undead guards to shoot at the couple, but Hadley disables them with her powers. She manages to knock M to the ground and distract him long enough for Friday to plug himself into the machinery and to start to reverse its effects. At that moment, the One has a surge of strength and breaks out of his chains. Finally freed, the old man kills M by throwing a spear into his face. Even with his captor dead, the One is far from finished. He is not at all thankful to Watson and the android woman for freeing him. Instead, he explains that his true goal all along was to create a wife and companion that Dr. Frankenstein had promised him many decades ago. He has been lonely and bitter all this time and thinks that humanity owes him a bride at least. Hadley tries to disable him with her powers, but the One is too strong, and she gets a powerful backlash which knocks her unconscious. The One reveals that he intends to use the power's corpse machinery to find new bodies for himself and his bride by transferring their souls and consciousness into Friday and Hadley. He powers up the machine, drawing the consciousness out of every undead corpse on Earth to create a superior soul and mind for his bride. This immense power causes reality to start fragmenting. Crackling shards of blue crystals start ripping through the air and across everyone's skin. Now in Friday's body, the one tenderly lifts the veil on Hadley's face and urges that his bride come forth and smile at him. And something else seems to have taken over Hadley, because the woman smiles lovingly at the one, and at that moment, Burnaby manages to overpower the monster he is fighting. He throws the chains around its body into the central machinery and shoots the monster as its body is dragged into the gears. The machine explodes immediately. The damage jolts the one back into his own body. Okay, look, Hadley totally missed a big opportunity for a rather peaceful resolution here. The one revealing his endgame is to be reunited with his bride, because he was promised that from the very beginning, which means that the destruction of the human race is not really his ultimate goal. It's just a perversion that he is happy to indulge in. That's kind of messed up, but if Hadley had placed herself in his shoes, she would realize that all the old man wants is a nice little bit of companionship. In comparison to his own naturally long life, the few weeks at most he spent with Frankenstein is but a drop in the ocean. He has never even met the wife that was going to be created for him and has no clue about if her personality is even compatible. Yet he's been clinging to that idea this entire time. This poor man is in love with the mere idea of companionship. That is some new level of desperation and loneliness, which Hadley should have taken advantage of. The one is literally the only one of his kind. He has gone almost 100 years without meeting any other sentient corpse who understands what he's feeling. Hadley here should have picked up on this glaring weakness and put herself as the companion that he so desperately seeks. She doesn't even need to lie. As an artificial being who feels out of place among humans and alone in the world, she is the perfect aversion to get through to the crazy old man. If I were her shoes, gave him a little bit of warmth and kindness that he has clearly never experienced in his life, and pour my artificial heart out to him. I think that's a pretty good pitch. Seizing the opportunity, Watson reconnects Friday into the machine. He tells his friend to activate the program, trapping the one's mind and soul within the artificial mind of the machine forever. Then picking up a literal shard of reality, Watson proclaims that this is the triumph of humanity's will. He plunges the shard through the one's chest and pierces the machine. A swirling vortex opens up and starts to engulf the old man. With a final gesture of spite, the one clings to Watson, determined to pull the doctor into oblivion with him. Just as Watson begins slipping, Friday steps up and holds his friend in place. The one loses his grip and screams as he is sucked in and shatters in a mass of blue crystals. Through the light, Friday looks at Watson knowingly and smiles at him for the first time. The entire tower starts to fragment and blow apart, releasing the energy it has collected from the corpses in sprays of thousands of green orbs. Sometime later, the world's oddest love triangle emerges from the tower as Watson, his corpse best friend, and the android woman climb to the top of the rubble. Hadley confesses that when the soul of the one's bride entered her body, she felt a mix of sadness, anger, and joy. Watson tells her that, well, hey, you got a soul now, causing her to blush as she refastens her floral hairpin to her hair. They share a tender moment, and Hadley makes Watson assure her that he will not give up on finding Friday's soul. Burnaby suddenly appears, having survived as well. He wishes his friends adieu and bids them farewell. Reaching into his jacket, Watson pulls out the damaged pieces of Dr. Frankenstein's notes. Sometime later, Watson continues his experiments with Friday as his assistant. He hooks himself into a corpse engineering machine and inserts the pages, which are now infested with blue crystals, into the machine's reader. Blue shards crisscross the doctor's body, then disappear beneath his skin. Friday inserts the machine's probes into the back of Watson's neck. Just before the mysterious process starts, Watson holds Friday's hand and reassures him of their bond.
But what do you guys think about the video? Let us know what you like about it and what you didn't like about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And as always, don't forget to check out our How to Beat playlist.